pleased to see you again. As you remember, during our last course, our last discussion, I explained you some principle on how to win your first client, how to start, let's say, kickstart the entrepreneurial route or journey of yours. And now I will detail the second part, which is probably even more important than the first one, is how to scale your business without crushing it, right? Because of course it's easy to get the first clients. It's easy. It's hard enough to get the first client, but it's way harder to build a business on those first clients, right? So here again, I will detail some recommendations of mine with some examples of famous people, examples that I've gone through, and the idea is to make you think about, let's say, potential success stories, potential failure, in order for you to try avoiding doing the same. Okay, we have 90 minutes together, so we'll try to have this 40 slide of mine in the 90 minutes, and then again we'll have a few minutes for question and answers. So let's start the second session on these statements. You have already started your business, you have won over the first clients, you have some money coming in, you can see some tractions, you have positive feedback. In other words, you are in business, right? What's next? Becoming from, let's say, a startup to a real company, it is an important transformation that you have to understand. This is a transformation that is going through three main, let's say, pillars. One, your business has to transform. Second, your team has to transform. And third, and maybe most important, you as the founder, as the CEO, as the general manager of your business, you have to change. If those three are not changing, and if those three are not changing, let's say, at the same pace, then unfortunately, at some point, your business will not be sustainable. And I've seen that so many times in my life, okay? So let's start with a quick introduction, okay? The concept of scaling without crashing. I will give you some few ideas to start with and few statistics also that I want to share with you. First of all, getting the first clients is hard. It's really hard. We discussed that last time, especially when nobody knows you, nobody wants to trust you. Even if you have something that is a little bit innovative, it's very hard to sell. But keeping those clients is even more important. So getting them is hard. Keeping those clients is even harder. The point is, those first clients, they are trusting you, right? They need to trust you a lot, right? You don't have any track record. Nobody knows you on the market. Nobody has worked with you before. So these are the persons that are courageous enough, the business that courageous enough, let's say, to start working with you. This is very important for you to keep track of these people, to keep a personal relationship with those people. You have to keep those first clients with you as long as possible. I will say even almost at all costs, right? Because this is what makes a business solid. That's what makes a business sustainable. So I like this say here, longevity depends on retention, not acquisition. You will see that in every single business. It is way more profitable to keep on working with a client than spending your time and energy trying to find new clients every day. And I can give you a small example of mine. My very, very first client with my main agency, BuzzFactor, my main business, was L'Oreal. Okay, I managed to get a little bit by mistake. I think I got lucky. I was working with online influencers. At that time, in 2010, nobody influencer were, and I was pushing them so much. At some point, they had in a marketing plan a line written, work with online influencers. As nobody was presenting those kind of services at that time, I got lucky because they said, somebody has to do it. You are there, please do so. But what I want to say to you is, I'm 15 years into this business. So Bus Factory has 15 years this year. And L'Oréal is still my client. It's my client for 15 years. So, and I spend a lot of my time with this specific client. I invite the, let's say, key people for dinners time to time. I have a cafe with them and so on and so on. This is very important. And here, so a few statistics also I will share with you. The average churn rate across industries, so across all the industry, is 75%. Think about it. 75% churn rate is a very, very high churn rate, right? So your objective is to have a churn rate as little as possible. Again, I understand you are in completely different businesses, different industries, and so on. Sometimes possible, sometimes not possible. But my point is, take your personal time to build this relationship with your client. Also pay attention to something. People that were working in L'Oréal 15 years ago, they're not working at L'Oréal anymore. They changed jobs, right? And because of that, I managed to get other clients, because when they left L'Oréal to go working for Unilever or to go work for other companies, they remember me. Then they call me and they say, I'm in this new company. Maybe we can do something together. You see, those relationships are really, really important for you. Another idea is that what was a small issue at 10 clients can kill the company at hundreds. Okay. Again, you're in different industries, in different businesses, some in B2B, some in B2C. It's different cases, but that's the idea, right? If something is wrong with a small number of clients, you can call them one by one, explain yourself, have a coffee with each of them, and fix the issue. It will take time, it's difficult, but it's feasible. When you have 100, when you have 1,000, it's impossible, right? So take that into consideration. So here the idea is that scale magnifies the error. Again, when you're big enough, usually you have overpassed this period of, let's say, potential big errors. But keep in mind, they happen. And when they happen, again, they can kill businesses. And here, another statistics I wanted to share with you, 74% of tech startup failure are due to scaling too early in operations. Think about that. When you start a business, you don't think about too early. When you want your business to grow as fast as possible. But growing as fast as possible is the best recipe for collapsing everything you're trying to build. Think of a startup as a kid, right? A kid which is 2 years old cannot compete at anything with kids which are 15 years old, right? It's impossible. And your startup is exactly the same thing. So you have to scale it, but you have to scale it smartly, right? Growth eats cash at breakfast. Actually, it's an adaptation of another famous say that say company culture eats strategy for breakfast, but it can be adapted here also. Growth eats cash for breakfast. The concept is, when the companies start growing, your expenses will explode. Why? Because you take a bigger office, you take more people, you start to have bigger salaries. You can have to start to have some, let's say, amenities from the company, right? And this will go extremely fast. And without taking too much, let's say, attention to it, you will see that a small structure that you have today, again, you have different structure, different industry, but a small structure with a, let's say, running cost of 10, 15, 20,000 euros a month can grow easily to 100,000 euros a month. And again, when you have a structure which costs 100,000 euros a month, you understand that you have to sell a lot in order just to sustain, let's say, the structure. So growth without cash discipline is the fastest road to bankruptcy. I will come back to that again and again throughout this course, because I have a few ideas that are really, in my opinion, are very important. I really wish you can remember them after we finish this course together. The one that I wanted you to remember from the last course was, work with a mentor, work with smart people, have them as a board of directors, because this is extremely valuable. Here, I will say work with specialists of finance. You being good with finance is not something, it's not a nice to have, it's a must have. It makes the difference between a business that exists and that will grow better and a business that's it's not even a real business, right? Yes, you make some sale, fine, good for you, right? But if you don't have your finance right, you will never be able to grow, or you will grow and you will explode at some point, right? And here is another statistics I want to share with you. 82% of small business fail due to cash flow problem. Think about it for just a second. You are, again, at different level of your startup. If you are at very early stage, seed stage, let's say, you have 1, 2, 3, 5, no matter how many small, or let's say less small investors, they trust you. They trust you personally. They may like your idea, but they trust you to be the 1% that you will be able to develop the idea. Okay? Your idea at the very early stage is mainly on paper, right? You might have good presentation. You can have even a mock-up or whatever, but you don't have anything tangible, let's say, yet. When you do have something tangible, and you cannot follow up with your sale, or you cannot follow with your cash flow, nobody anymore will invest in your company. You understand that? No, there's no investor that will accept putting money in a company that is losing money right now, because the potential of growth is not there anymore. There is a potential of growth of a brilliant idea, but there is no potential of growth of an idea that doesn't work and eat cash. You see what I mean? Another idea, as a founder, you are the only one that cannot quit, right? Again, remember last time we discussed about burnout. I will not get too much into burnout because you understand what it is, right? But my point is, you are the one that take on your shoulder everything else in the business, right? You cannot, let's say, not be there. You cannot not sell. You have to be, let's say, the leader. You have to be motivated. If you are tired, if you're depressed, the whole company will be tired and depressed. And if you're depressed, you will not be able to sell anything, right? And getting depressed when the company grows, it will just lay down on the whole company. It will have an impact on the company culture. It will have an impact on sales. It will have an impact on everything, right? So you have to keep yourselves together. This is, again, very strong discipline that you have to have. And yeah, I saw that, I read that recently, 72% of entrepreneurs report some mental health concerns. Can you imagine that? This is more than 7 out of 10. This is almost the norm of, if you're an entrepreneur, you might and you will probably have some mental health concern, right? The question is not if you are going to have them. The question is, what are you going to do about that and how you will cope with it? Again, you're the leader of the company. People in the companies are looking at you, right? If you're not at the top, everybody will feel it immediately. And finally, last idea before I start the full, let's say, core of this presentation, is that early wins make you believe your model will work forever. Remember, I discussed last time of overconfidence. I said that underconfidence is a problem when you're not self-confident, let's say, about you, about your capacities, about your company, about your product, whatever. But overconfidence also is something you want to avoid, right? So make sure that if something works now, you have to have somewhere in your brain or in your mind or in, let's say, your plan for the future that something wrong will happen, okay? When everything goes right, you must plan for when something will go wrong. And I know it's more easy to say than to actually implement, but that's the truth. Because when everything is fine, you start, let's say, living in the clouds, right? You start thinking that everything will be fine forever. It won't, because unfortunately, you know as much as I do, we are living in a very complicated period of time, right? There are war out there. There are economical crises. There are a lot of things happening. A lot of commercial war. That's the word I was saying for. And tomorrow, anything can happen. Anything can happen tomorrow, to be quite honest. So the thing is, you will have to adapt. We are living in a world that is very flexible, that is changing all the time. So your job is always to prepare for the future. When everything goes right, prepare for when something will go wrong. Unfortunately, something will go wrong at some point. Do you think people in 2019 were thinking about COVID? Nobody was thinking about COVID. Nobody. And remember what happened with COVID, right? It was a world mess. And thinking that COVID cannot happen again, it's a big mistake. You know as much as I do that it can happen again. So this presentation is built out of two parts. Let's say the first one is the practical rules, and the second is virtues, entrepreneur virtues, okay? So again, they come out of my experience, my reading, discussion that I had, and I'm sharing that with you again, just to show you mistakes or good, let's say, behavior and how it worked for several companies. And I will, on top of that, give you some personal also cases of mine that I hope can help with your startups. So first part, oh, sorry, I went in the wrong direction. First rule is don't lose sight of your first client. I already mentioned this. This is something that is very, very, very important. When you build these relationships are meant to live as long as possible. The problem when you lose a client, think about it. The problem when you lose a client is not so much of the lack of future income that you will receive with this client. The problem is a client that is unhappy with you is a client that may relay negative information about you or about your business. And you remember we discussed last time, no matter if you are at the early stage or the growing stage of a business, if you have a bad reputation, if your business has a bad reputation, it means that on the long run, your business will not be sustainable. I will also give you another rule that is not written here. The problem with startups, and I had the problem several times in my life, and I guess some of you will have this problem, is when you rely on a very limited number of clients. Let's say that your business have 1, 2, 3 clients. That's it. Okay. In this case, you are even more reliable on your clients, because if you lose one client, mathematically, you might be losing 30% of your turnover or more than that. So this is why it is important, again, if you're in a B2B, to have as much client as possible. Do not have any clients, never ever have any clients which alone is more than 50% of your turnover. If you have that, you are in a very, very dangerous position. Try to have 1, 2, 3, 4, let's say, large client that will make, let's say, 10 up to 20% of your turnover, no more than 20%, and then few small clients that are completing the picture. Okay. Keep the relationship lively with them. Again, spend time with them. Inviting a client to take a coffee or a breakfast or a dinner, it is something that have existed in businesses throughout of the ages. Have a budget for that. I never ever heard a client saying, God damn it, this provider invite me at dinner and I really don't want to go there. People loves to go at dinner, right? Entertain them. If you have a party, make a party for your clients. That's what big marketing companies and big advertising agencies have been doing forever. What they do is they create huge parties and they invite all their clients there. And then the clients are waiting every year for this party to happen. You see what I mean? So this relationship is very, very important. Keep them alive at all costs. Here's a few examples of very, very successful entrepreneur and how they actually cope with what I was just was saying. For example, the founder of Airbnb, they will meet and photograph themselves all the first apartment, the first 100 apartments that they signed for Airbnb in New York. Of course, now they have millions of properties. It doesn't make sense. But doing that, it allows them to meet with their not their suppliers. Meeting their suppliers provide them a lot of feedback. Same thing with Jeff Bezos. Jeff Bezos, in the early years of Amazon, he will send a letter himself or even call the first buyers in order to get feedback from them. And Howard Schultz, the founder of Starbucks, will do exactly the same, right? It makes sense. Of course, when you are in a B2B, B2C segment, you will not be able to do that for a long time, but keep track of your customer. Spend time with them, make them happy. And if they are important, let's say, especially in the B2B sector, do everything to have this relationship keep living on. Second rule is also an important one. Hire slow, fire fast. Okay. Here, the thing is, when you start a business, usually you will have 1, 2, 3 people, 4 people around you. Usually, early stage startups will not have more than 4 or 5 people, right? But when business will start, when growth, when sales will start scaling, you will have to hire people, right? And if those traction is happening fast, you will have to hire a lot of people. And here is also a point in the life of a startup when everything can go wrong. Because hiring, as you know, is something extremely complicated. It's not only about hiring, it's the right hiring. You need to have the right people. And I will also give you a small, let's say, case of myself, a mistake that I did, and then I understood that, and then I changed it. When I started my agency, first time I had to hire people, I tried to hire people as cheaply as possible. So I was looking at the junior in every single position, and I will say, I will manage them. So I'm good. Manager are, let's say, so, but if I'm working with them, I can help them become better. That was a very strong mistake. If you hire people, never hire cheap people. Cheap people never bring something valuable for the business. And I will tell you a second story. At some point in the early stages of my agency, I think it was 2015, 2016, I had the chance to hire someone which was extremely, let's say, experienced. Someone that had an important job in an important agency in Moscow, and she was expensive. She was like really expensive. At this time, she was, I would not say mistake, but maybe $3,000 or $4,000 a month. And I was seeing for myself, I have a small business, $4,000 salary. That is a lot of money. And I remember I spent like a week, thinking about it. Should I do that? Should I not do that? What is the risk? God damn it. That was the best investment in my life. This person, she's managing my company today. So she's as a CEO because she's managing all the operation. And the business is thriving because of that person. So that was the best business decision I made, is to hire somebody that was extremely, extremely good, because it will help your business grow. And at the other way around, if you have somebody which is not good, it will play on older member of the team. If you hire somebody that is lazy, and people will see that, God damn it, we have a lazy person in the company, he's not doing anything. Why should I be doing something? You see, these people, these bad people, can have a very toxic influence on the company. This is why this is very difficult to hire the right people. It will take years before you will understand if you're hiring right away the right person or not. Because again, somebody can they do you a very good impression when they come to a job interview, and that be not as good as you will expect. The point is, if you have made the mistake of hiring the wrong person, fire that person as fast as possible. It is really key to the success of your company. Again, don't fire that person just because someone says something, right? You have to make sure 100%. But the second you understand that this person is toxic and this person has a wrong influence on the whole team, fire that person immediately. It doesn't matter. You make mistakes, you will make mistakes. You will hire bad people. You have no choice. You will hire bad people, but your job is to understand that you made a mistake and repair that mistake as fast as possible. Here's a very famous example is the example of Uber. Uber has this problem that they grew ultra rapidly from, let's say, a small startup to a worldwide multinational, right? And when you do that in a few years, of course, you will have to hire a lot of people very, very fast. And when you hire a lot of people very, very fast, you're not as good as efficient, let's say, to screen for the cultural and ethical fit for all these people. And out of this, you have heard the story of Uber had an extremely toxic cultural environment. There was a lot of sexual harassment. They have scandals. They're threatening. People fight in the offices. You heard so many stories about this. And again, if it's a small startup, if it's an average startup, you can go, let's say, and fix this yourself. But when you're an international company in many different countries and you are aiming at an IPO and you have a multi-billion-dollar valuation, of course, for the investors and the partner, it won't work. And this is why in 2017, Travis Kalanick was kicked out as a CEO. And together with him, what we forget to remember is 20 top executives were fired together with him. And now they have hired like very strong people which are dedicated to create this new cultural environment, have a good fit of everybody. They do a lot of work on, let's say, repairing this problem. But again, it took 5 to 6 years for them to repair what they just built out of 3 or 4 years. You see? So again, this is very important to avoid having toxic people in your company and avoid having a toxic culture. Your culture is the oil inside your company. If this oil is bad quality, the company will not go anywhere. Third rule, keep agility alive. This is also something that was mentioned during the previous session. Bureaucracy kills innovation, right? A company will grow. When it will grow, of course, you have more and more processes. You try to set up all those processes, right? Because again, without setting up processes, you have chaos, right? So you set up processes. But the company grows, you have more and more processes. And as the processes grow, as the number of people in the loop will grow, of course, the decision-making process will slow down, right? And out of this, startups which were extremely agile stop slowly being agile in the future. They start to be not that flexible. They stop being that creative, right? Of course, it is something that will happen. You have no choice. It will happen, right? But when you know about it, you can do something about it before it happens. So the concept of a startup is getting this agility. The concept of a startup is having extremely fast decision process. If you have too many people in a loop, then of course decision process will not work. A big problem that I saw hundreds of times is as the startups start growing into a proper business with 100 plus employees, the company start having more and more business meetings, internal meetings. And then at some point, from a company where everybody was active, doing creative, having some creative idea, disrupting market, you start to have a company where people will sit hours and hours in conference room to discuss about everything and to agree on nothing, right? So keep for yourself the numbers of those meetings limited. Keep the number of people limited in every decision-making process. If you have 5, 7, 10 people in the decision-making process, it will take 1 month to make a decision, of course. So, of course, you know about agile. Of course, you know about sprints. Of course, you understand the concept of cross-functional teams. But again, this is something that has to keep your company alive. You must organize that. This is your main target, is not to lose this agility. And here's a recommendation I can give you: regularly review and simplify processes. That should be one of your main objectives as a CEO and as the founder of the company, is to simplify the processes. Again, today we're in a world where we have AI. AI can simplify processes, can automate processes, right? So you should use it. If you see a process that doesn't create value, cut it. Again, the company will not collapse because you cut one process, right? But more process will create more bureaucracy and will be against your growth and you thriving as a company. Here's an example. It's a little bit different example, but I like the idea. You know Richard Branson, the founder of Virgin. What you might not know about him is that he created throughout his career more than 400 companies. 400 companies, and few of them, maybe 10, 15 of them, were extremely profitable. So he made money out of 10, 15 companies, and the other one, he just kept them loose. So his idea was, if somebody comes to me with an idea that I like, I will attribute a small budget, can be 20, can be $50,000, in order to test it. And I will give 6 months to the idea. And after 6 months, if the results are not there, I'm shutting down the company. So here again, I'm not saying shutting down your activities, but as the company grows, you will have to test different initiatives. You will have to test different hypotheses. And your job is to make the decision whether, if we go that direction, we don't go that direction, right? And going fast in the process, cut when you have to cut, lose money, it doesn't matter, but keep the business alive by taking fast decision with small decision making processes. Fourth rule: stay out of the operational trap. So of course, again, this is a little bit contradictory of what I said earlier with keeping the relationship with the client. But think about this like that way, right? You are right now at the early stage of the life of your startups. I guess that most of you are in this early stage. So of course you are a one-man orchestra, right? You're doing everything. You're calling the client, you are supervising the production of the product, you are tweaking the product, speaking with the technical team, speaking with the founder, the other founders or the investors. You are doing everything, right? So the thing is that you might get used to that role, right? Because that's the role which will convert, let's say, an idea to an early stage company, right? And because you are good at what you're doing, the company start having the first client, start having the first feedback, start having the first results, right? However, when the company start growing, you should slowly, step by step out of those processes. I'm not saying stop reviewing them, stop controlling them, but you should not be the one that call all the clients all day long. You should have special relationship with few clients, spend some time, go with them somewhere. Yes, you should do that, but you should not do everything. You should not be the one to make all the cold call to the potential clients. If you're doing that, it means that you're not doing something important. You have to step back from these operational activities and start thinking completely different. Micromanagement kills scaling. And of course, I understand micromanagement. Of course, when your business grows from 3 people to 15 people, you want to ensure that everybody is doing the job right? So you will just review what they're doing, review the presentation, review the Excel files and everything. But what it will do, you will redo the job of your employee, and your employee will not like that you are reviewing them because they will think that you're not trusting them. And again, micromanagement is not trusting someone. So the point is, you should really step out. Again, I'm repeating the idea of hiring the right people. But when you hire the right people, or you outsource, let's say, some activities, for instance, you can outsource client service, right? There's a lot of companies that are very good to client service, and you can outsource to them. Or you can automatize repetitive low-value tasks with AI, right? When you do that, you are stepping away from operation. And where you're stepping away from operation, it means something. It means that you will have more time to spend on the big vision. That's what is expected from you as a founder, as an entrepreneur, when the company starts to grow. You should focus on the what's next. That's it. If, again, anybody can call a client, anybody can make the sale, you're good with that, fine. But only you can work on the vision. Only you can work on the next step. Only you can work on the big cooperation, big partnerships. Only you can work on the big funding stages of your company. So you have to focus on what is important. You remember what I just said? Think about the processes, right? That's the helicopter view of the company. You have this helicopter view. Is this process working? Okay, it's not. This is something you can do. Finance, review the finance. Finance are important, but the day-to-day activity should be out of your range. That is exactly my case. Today, partners, big partners, and finance. That's what I'm doing. I'm not doing the rest. Okay. Here's an example. I will go fast because you know this example. It's Elon Musk. Elon Musk that unfortunately loves micromanaging people. He are very good people, and then he'll just spend his time double checking of what they're doing. And because of this, he had many nervous breakdown. You heard the story that he was working 70 hours a week. He was sleeping at the office. So all these, let's say, behavior of his, they have an impact on the culture. I've never heard of any of Elon Musk companies that they have a strong corporate culture, because he pushes so much people to be the best at what they're doing. The competitivity inside the company is just insane. And if he works 70 hours a week, he will expect also all his employees working 70 hours a week. And even if you have a very high salary, your health is not worth it. Okay, so if you are working 70 hours a week, it means that something is wrong with what you're doing. You should be working less but more efficiently. Fifth rule, and today you'll see I will speak a lot about finance. Protect your cash flow. When you are at an early stage startup, you have the first discussion with your angel investors that will look at your P&L. But again, we know it's all of you, and I know that the early stage P&L is guesswork, right? You try to guess where we're going to stand in 1 year, where we're going to stand in 2 years, and you have this very nice hypothesis, and in 3 years you will make $10 million. The reality is always very different. Always, always, always different. When you plan to spend $100,000 before you can reach break even, in reality, you will spend $200,000 or $300,000. So if you think that you need $100,000, ask for 300, because you will need 300 at the end of the day. So the problem again is growing a business will require a lot of expenses, right? You hire better people, more expensive people. You will spend more money on the production, better facilities, better machineries, better whatever you need. You will spend more money on marketing, right? If you're good with marketing, it's fine. But if you're not that good with marketing, you can end up wasting a lot of your marketing budgets in the wrong direction. Expansions require a lot of investment, right? So growing a business is something that costs a lot of money. And if you're making money, it's fine, but you can easily end up with spending much more than what you are making. This is why out of all the potential problems a startup, your startup can have, liquidity crisis, so lack of money, is the one that can kill your business. Unfortunately, that's what it is. And again, remember what I said, it's easy to have investor giving you some money at an early stage because they like you, because they like your idea, because they think it's the right time to market. But when your business is growing, and if you're not able to get clients once the technology is ready, then for sure nobody will finance your company. Investor might be reluctant, bank will not giving you any money, and you will see a lot of companies are just crashing just because they stop having enough money. They don't pay attention, and they overspend, and then that's it. And it's, if again, I remember, I just come back to the example I give you at the early stage. If you have 2 or 3 clients, if you lose 1 or 2 out of 3, God damn it, you will be in a big, big, big trouble very, very fast. So my recommendation to you is always try to have at least 6 months of operational expenses ready for the future. So if for any reason, for tomorrow you lose your 3 clients, at least you know that for the next 6 months you have enough money, let's say, to make the company live. Let me give you 2 examples. When COVID happened, I will just give you one example, personal one. When COVID happened, you remember 2020, everything stopped. The world stopped. Economy stopped. And of course, I, as a marketing agency, as an advertising agency, I was the first one to be hit by this crisis, because the very first thing that players will stop spending when the economy goes bad is marketing, right? They will stop putting money on the marketing. And we had another time this very big problem in 2022 for very different reasons that you can imagine. And from one day to the other, when everything was perfect, client stopped putting money, and they say, every budget we agreed, we have to stop them. And then, my friends, I can tell you, you are feeling alone like never before, And then you understand that you have 15 employees in a company, you have an office, you have different things, and you have to pay those people. You cannot not pay your employee. So when those crises happen, what I did, I never fired anyone because of the crisis. But what I did is I spoke with my teams and I say, look, guys, we are in a very, very tight situation. Fortunately, I have some money, let's say, for the closest future, but I will have to reduce your salary for a certain period of time. And if you don't like this idea and you want to leave the company, I will accept that with no problem. Okay, and I said that these 2 times, 2020, 2022. And in both cases, all of my employees accepted to have cuts on their salary. In 2022, for you to understand, employees accepted a 40% cut on their salary. You understand what is a 40% cut on their salary? But and 2% left the company by themselves. That's it, out of 15 people. So be careful of that and have always this mindset of looking at what is going on in your business. And here I will give you just a few stats and something that I use that I created for myself. First of all, 54% of small business owners lack of solid financial literacy. And I will get back to literacy again today, because the main problem that most of you have, not all of you, is that you're entrepreneur. You are not CFOs, right? You're not financial guys. You know something about finance, right? You know about profit, you know about net margin, something like this, right? Because again, that's the basic of the basic. But you might not have the real financial literacy. Until the moment you don't have a financial literacy, or you don't have someone in your company that have this strong financial literacy, it will be very, very hard for you to grow your business. And I made many mistakes in my life because I wasn't literated financially. Then, of course, I did the MBA, and now I'm much stronger than I was before. But I also find very strong professional with whom I'm working already more than 10 years. And because of this, now I have a very, very healthy business. Even through crisis, I managed to live, God damn it, guys, in 15 years, we outlived 4 or 5 major crises. And that was difficult, but only because I had this discipline of a strong financial, let's say, setup, I could go through. Because when everything was fine, I will always plan some money for the moment when something will go wrong. And this saved my business. Another statistic I want to share with you is 84% of startups do not use the service of a professional accountant. I was really stunned to see that. Of course, you will tell me, yeah, but professional accountant, professional CFO, they cost money. Yes, of course they cost money, but you will save so much time and energy and efficiency because you are working with those people that will change everything, right? There is few financial parameters that are very important for you to know, like DSO, DPO, and so on, which is the outstanding payables and the outstanding billables, which is how many days on average you are receiving the money from your clients. This is something that you have to track, because the bigger this number, so the more days on average you have to receive the money from your clients, the more cash you need in order to make your business live, right? It's working capital. If you give 100 days, you will have to have almost 3.5 months of working capital to sustain this client. This is why I try to negotiate like crazy to have the smaller payments period for all of my clients. And this is why I reduced immensely, let's say, my WCR. I will give you after that some of my instruments. Just after this slide, if I'm not mistaken. Instrument that I've developed myself, and I will just recommend you to use something similar. It's also very easy to follow some vanity metrics like the number of followers or the number of signups or number of visits on a site. But be careful that those metrics are not financial metrics. You need to have business metrics and financial metrics. You have to look at the two of them. For instance, the cash burn rate. You must know your cash burn rate. You cannot grow a business if you don't know that. So my advice to you is to have like 3 to 5 metrics that are important for your business. Again, this DPO for me was important because when I understood that the average day of payment from my client was too big, I started working actively to reduce it, which actually helped build a stronger finance. It can be the cost of client acquisition, it can be the LTV, it can be anything. Again, you're in different businesses, you're in different industries, but try to find those 3, 4, 5 important metrics that are actually showing you how well your business is doing, right? Work with your mentors, work with your your co-founders, work with anybody that can give you some advice on how to get the best metrics for business. But you need to have these 3-5 metrics. Why do I say 3-5 metrics? Because it's very easy to have a 10 metrics in front of you. The point is, when you have 3-5, when something is wrong on one of the 3-5, then you can make for yourself a priority to follow one of these, right? If you have 10 of them, and then you have 5 which are not good, then you will get lost in trying to fix that, right? It's easy to fix 1 out of 3. It's difficult to fix 3 out of 10. See the point? And what I will recommend you is to create very simple dashboards that will allow you to have a very clear vision of where your business stands. This is 2 examples of dashboard that I created for my company. Numbers are not correct, but it shows you the idea. My accountant, my director, and several other people have access to some tables of this document. And what do I see on those documents? I can follow a few metrics. For instance, for me, it's important to see how much money do we spend in subcontracting. My objective is to have a subcontracting which is below 45%. And here you can see that my actual subcontracting is 40%. The higher is my subcontracting, the less profit I will make at the end of the day. It's as easy as that. Then I can see salaries, indirect salaries, other costs, taxes, and then I can follow this plan and fact. And actually, this information is updated once a month, only once a month. So once a month, we sit all together. We review all the numbers of sales, all the numbers of expenses, and then we have this in, again, this extremely simple table, extremely simple table. There's, again, more to this because there's more lines with graphs and everything. I will not show you, but in 5 minutes, I can see that and I see where we're good and where we're not good. And I'm using this model that I've created 10 years ago, and I'm still using it years after years. Why? Because it's simple. It shows me everything. And in a fraction of a blink of an eye, I can see what is going wrong, if anything, in my business. You see? And now I can see that I was planning a 5% net result, and I'm on a 22% net result. You see? So when I have this vision, I know where I have to focus my control and my energy, and fighting this, I can improve the numbers of my business. And then I have this second file, which is the cash flow statement. It's not exactly a cash flow statement. It's more like a runaway. I call it cash flow because I call it cash flow at that time. The idea is my accountant will put for the months to come, so this month and the next 2-3 months, every expense and every income that we'll have. So when there is a client that must pay us something, I will see that on this day, I'm expecting this client to pay that. And in the same time, I will have these expenses. And this is the money I have in the bank. And when I'm doing that, I know very, very well, much in advance, when I might have problems with low cash at the bank. And if I know that 2 or 3 months in advance, I have ways to do something about it. If I know that I will have a problem in 3 months, I will call all my clients today and I say, look, I will give you a 5% discount if you are able to pay me in advance. So having this, again, very, very simple instrument, any accountant who should be able to do that. Here, I have several hundreds of lines for every month, of course, but it shows me exactly where I'm stepping in. And 2-3 months in advance, I know exactly what's going on with my business. And my recommendation is for you to do something very similar. Again, do it as you want, but have something similar, because then you can control your finance in your company. And here we'll go a little bit faster because time is running. It's about the company culture. Company culture is not that important when you are on the very early stage, right? When you are at the seed level, your company culture is you, basically, right? It's having a beer, with your colleague on Friday evening. That's fine. But as the company grows, the company culture becomes more and more important. Not everybody is Google. Not everybody has the capacity of Google of create absolutely stunning offices and building this culture absolutely insane. And when people work in Google, they are like zombies because they start having only friends on Google and they start eating in the morning, at lunch, and at night at Google. They live basically in the office, right? I'm not saying you have to do that, but the point is that as the company grows, culture is becoming something very important. And here I will go fast. I will just recommend you to read that book from Thierry Cellerin. He was the founder of Zappos, a very, very clever guy. Zappos is probably one of the best example of great company culture. What he did, his idea was to create an absolutely flat hierarchy. So you have no boss. You are your own boss. Everybody's own boss. Everybody fix their own target for themselves. And there is no one that will just ask you a question about this. Every single person in the company, from the CEO to the people washing the floors, are trained as a customer service, and they are able to speak with customer. So he invented a lot of very interesting elements of what a good corporate company culture should be. Unfortunately, he died very young age. He was 42 or 43. Again, if you're interested, just read about this guy. Very, very interesting guy. And again, very good example of company culture. Second part is about the founder value. I can hear that somebody has a mic on. Please switch off your mic. Again, we'll have 10 minutes at the end of this session for you to ask you a few questions. Here are some virtues that you should have as a founder. It's not even you should have, you must have. You remember last time we discussed about the discipline. This is part of this discipline. You must have the discipline on several things, right? So if you have few of them, it's good for you. If you have all of them, then you have more chances of becoming a successful entrepreneur. First and foremost, personal brand matters. Personal brand is extremely important today. Again, remember we discussed that last time. When you're at the early stage of your company, often the first clients, the first investors, they will not that much invest in your idea. They invest in you. They believe in you. They buy you, right? Because they think that this guy has the energy. He is like 100% with what he's doing. I trust him as a founder, right? So that's this trust that you must convert into your brand, right? When you're at early stage, again, this brand is not understandable. But as you grow as a business and you grow as an entrepreneur, you become more and more the face of the company, which means that you need to attend events. You need to speak at the event. You need to have speaking opportunities. You need to write articles. You need to network. It's not you can do that. You must do that. There is no way. I never saw a successful entrepreneur that was not doing that. You must spend some time on creating this personal brand, because at the end of the day, this personal brand is important for your external stakeholders, as your clients, for instance, but they're also important for your internal stakeholders, right? If you want to set a vision, if you want to be a charismatic leader, people inside your company has to see you as a charismatic leader. They has to see you as someone knowledgeable, right? You have to prove it again and again and again and again. And I've done that. I've done hundreds of conferences in my life. Right now, I'm doing less of them because I'm doing a little bit different things. And again, stepped out as operations. So my CEO right now is the one doing some of these things. Not enough in my point of view, but she's doing that because she will be the operational person. She will be the person in charge, with setting the trends and everything. But my point is, ask you some question, right? I will ask several rhetorical questions. I don't need an answer from you, but just ask yourself those questions. is my network on LinkedIn large enough? Are you using LinkedIn? If you're not using LinkedIn, it's a big mistake. You should be using LinkedIn. I will guess that most of you are using LinkedIn. How many people do you know on LinkedIn? How many people you connect on LinkedIn? LinkedIn is an extremely powerful instrument. I met many clients through LinkedIn. I met several partners through LinkedIn. So adding people from your network, people you don't know even, but are from your industry, it cannot be bad, okay? So spend some time trying to understand how LinkedIn works, right? And growing your network. Second question, how often do you share professional content on social media? Again, you are a professional of your activity, of your domain, of your niche, of your industry. So you should be publishing content. If you do it once a week, I will say perfect, very good. If it's once a month, not that good. If it's less than once a month, maybe something is wrong. How often do you speak at conferences? Here also there is a big question, because speaking of conferences takes a lot of time, it takes a lot of energy, but when you speak at a conference, you are seen as a professional. It grows your personal brand. It sees people that these people is important enough to be a speaker at a conference, right? So speaking at a conference is something really important for your personal brand. And finally, how often am I mentioned in media from our industry? The more you are mentioned, the more you are seen as a professional. That's it. If media are not coming to you yet, well, maybe it might make some sense to pay time to time a little bit of money in order for to have your article published in some of your industry main media. Makes sense. Guys, please cut the thank you. So if you do not promote your personal brand, nobody will. 100%. Nobody will do that. Second virtue of a good leader is transform from a doer to a leader. I will not repeat myself because we already discussed this. Here, I just want to again point out that your job is to surround yourself with a player that know their function better than you. Of course, when you have a small business, a player don't want to come to your company. They don't want to come to your company. It's very difficult to have very good employee with very good experience to come to your company because it's a risk, right? So how do you cope with this risk? Higher salary, again, possible, but dangerous. Or if it's someone which is absolutely outstanding, might make sense to make him become a partner, right? I'm just putting that on the table. But my point is you build a business on very strong people. And your job as a CEO, as a founder, is to find people that are better than you in different things, right? If you're good with sales, try to find the best salesman that you can. If you're good with finance, find a very good CFO, and so on and so on. Because you build a business on very good employee. You do not build a business on average or bad quality people. Ask yourself the several question. If I step away for a week, does the company will keep moving or it will suffer? Is my team waiting for my instruction or empowered to act without me? Again, at a very early stage, they might wait for your instruction, of course, but when you're in the growth stage, you should have people that are able to make a decision without you. Again, not a strategic decision, but a operational decision 100%. Do I trust my team to handle client without me? Again, at the growth stage, it should be like this. Excuse me, there is someone from Green Tech which switch off his mic all the time. Please keep it off. Thank you very much. And finally, do I spend more time managing tasks or inspiring team? So it is how you become a leader. Again, it's being an entrepreneur, you must transform into a leader. Being an entrepreneur, you're not automatically a leader, right? There's two different things. If you understand that you don't have what it takes to become a leader, there's no problem with that. There is no problem with that. But you need to have someone in the team that has this leadership, that has this trust of other people in the team. And you have to manage that person. Okay? It works, but you have to work with that. Third, plan ahead. Again, that's what I said, is market shifts, everything change. What was working yesterday will not work tomorrow. So you have to plan for the future. You always, my recommendation is not to repeat what I already said a bit earlier, but my very, very strong recommendation for you is block time weekly for strategic reflection. Take 1 hour per week, 1 hour at least. If you can do that, do more, obviously, but take 1 hour when you switch off your computer, you switch off your phone, sit at a cafe, sit at your desk, not at your desk because somebody will come and distract you. Sit somewhere far away from other people, have a walk in the woods, whatever, and spend this 1 hour disconnected to think about the business. Again, it might be crazy for me to say something like this, but it really works. And again, if you read the books of the life of many of the great leaders in the companies, again, the Richard Branson and so on, they will tell you, all of them, they will tell you something similar. They will take time for yourself, take time for thinking, because when you're in the day-to-day activities, it's easy stopping thinking, right? It's easy to stop thinking. And unfortunately, thinking is an ability, it's like a muscle. The more you think, the better you get at thinking. The less you think, the worse you get at thinking. And this is something very problematic we have with the younger generation, because they're so much absorbed by the TikTok and the videos that they stop using their brain and thinking. They have the capacity, but they stop using it. So your job as a CEO, as a founder, is to block time for reflection. And again, remember, it's very good to work against burnout, right? If you need, take 1 day a week and spend that day in the woods. Really, I mean, honestly, I have a friend of mine who is doing that. Is extremely successful as an entrepreneur. Once a day, he leaves, he cuts his phone, and spends all day thinking. And when you do that, when you walk, when you have these different time, let's say, for thinking, then you can come up with very good ideas. Okay. So think about for yourself. If you double your client next month, what will change in the organization? If your cash runway clear for this, is your cash runway clear for the next 6 months? Do you have enough money, let's say, for the next 6 months? Do my team and investors know where we're going? This is an important one. Your team must understand your vision. Your investor must understand your vision. Your vision will change in time, right? It changes fine. You can change it. You have to change it. But every time you change it, you have to rework with your team. You have to rework with the investor for them to understand that I've thought about that. I read that. I've seen that. And I think that we should probably go that direction. Not any strategy is just written in the marble. All the strategies are meant to be changed in time. Okay. And the last question for you, and it's a big one. Have you identified the next big thing into your industry? And if you haven't, that's something you should be working on. Balance work and life. Again, we discussed it last time, but when you are at an early stage, let's say burnout is a small risk that exists, right? When you are in a growth phase, burnout is a very big risk. So here I want just to say two things. First of all, working 24/7 has never been the key of the success. If you work 24/7, if you sleep at your office, people in your team will feel forced to do the same thing. And if they are forced to do the same thing, then you will develop a very toxic culture. People will not work for long into your company. You will have a very high turnover. Okay. So you have 5 days to work, 6, let's say maximum if you want to take the Saturday, but that's it. You have to put those boundaries, and you have to put the boundaries also with your team. And this is something that's happening very often with the startups. Everybody's so much connected. Everybody feels that their input in a company is so important that when they go on holiday, they take the computer, they take the phone, they're connected 24/7. Your job as a CEO or as an entrepreneur is to force people to go on holiday without the computer. Your job is to schedule for yourself and for your team non-negotiable recovery time. If you feel that you are down, if you feel you're tired, your job is to cut it, to take 1 week out. If your business is growing, and if you take 1 week holiday, nothing will happen. Nothing will happen. But my very strong recommendation for you is, first of all, your family should never struggle because of your professional activity. Your kids should never struggle because of your professional activity. You must spend time with your family. It's not because I'm a humanist and I think it's important. It's because that's what life is about. If you start working 24/7, you're not even sure that what you're doing now will work in the future. You're just wasting your time. You're not creating something, right? Your family, your friends, your kids, they're the foundation on which you're building. So you need to spend time with them. And if your friend and family are giving you comments that you look sleepy, you don't look good, you should take some time off, take this as a very strong recommendation. If they say that because they see you and they love you and they take care, they care about you. So if your family asks you to take some time off, you must take that time off. Again, business will not collapse because you take 1 week off, for sure, 100%. So ask yourself the next question. When was the last time I took a real break without checking my emails? When is the last time you spent 3 days in a row without checking your emails? Do I feel guilty when I'm not working? If you feel guilty when you're not working, something is wrong, right? Because there is opening hours and there is rest hours. Have I skipped health checkup? Have I skipped meals? Do I skip sleep for my startup? If the answer is yes of any of these questions, then something is really wrong. And finally, is my family suffering from my absence of my focus at work? If the answer is yes, my advice to you is stop what you're doing or change something that you're doing, because your family must not suffer from what you're doing 100%. Then you are doing the wrong thing. You're doing the wrong direction. You're putting your forces in the wrong business. Okay. Oh yeah, and I like this sentence. If you burn out, your startup will burn out with you. Financial literacy, I mentioned that. Guys, it will be my main recommendation of today. If you have to remember something for today, is you must be financially literate to grow your business. You cannot grow your business if you do not have this financial literacy. There's a couple of very strong books. If you're interested, send me a message on WhatsApp or wherever, and I will send you the references. There's 2 books that I really recommend you to read, and I read them once a year just to refresh my mind. But just it explains you how finance works. You have to know your burn rate. You have to know your DSO and DPO. It's how long time you spend to pay your own bills and how much time on average your clients pay your bill. You must know what EBITDA stands for, right? You must know that there is no way of you building a business and growing a business without knowing those numbers. Investors always prefer founders that knows numbers. Investors are financially smart people and they like other financially smart people. If you speak the same language with them, they will feel reassured and they will trust you more. If they see that you don't know the basic of the finance, they will not invest you. They might do it as an early stage because again, they like you or they like your idea, but they will not do it in the long run for sure. If you come at the Series A stage or at the Series B or or after this, those next investment round, they are financial investment round. All the discussion you will have will be about finance, or 90% of the question will be about finance. Question is, we're asking about putting $2 million in a company, there will be a lot of question about finance, and you understand the finance. So my two recommendations here is read those books in order to have actually the minimum financial literacy. So you should be able to read a P&L, that you should be able to read a balance sheet, and you should be able to read a cash flow. But also work with the CFO. You should take one on the part-time, once a month, 4 hours, 5 hours, should be enough at the early stage. But those CFO will look at the numbers in a way that you don't know how to look. And that will be the difference between having a sustainable business and a, let's say, short time lifespan business. So question that you should ask yourself is, how familiar am I with financial metrics such as DPO, DSO, liquidity ratio, current ratio? I hope you know these things. There are financial ratios that are very important to understand where your business stands. And it's something you should look at least every quarter. Do you know exactly how many months of cash runaway do you have left? If a big client delay the payments by 60 days, could you survive? And final question, this is a very important one. What is your sustainable growth rate? Sustainable growth rate is the growth that you can afford to make with your own money, which means that, let's say, the company can grow 50% as a maximal sustainable growth rate, which means that going more than 50%, you will have to finance the growth. Do you know this sustainable growth rate for your company? If you don't, you should know it, because that's very important. If you grow faster than this, it means that you will have to finance. And again, financing is how? More investors? Is it a loan from the bank? But the loan from the bank, then you have a percentage, then you have a question of ERR and NPV and so on getting into the table, okay? So guys from Green Tech, again, please get the mic. Thank you. So I repeat that again because this is important. Last one is seek guidance. I said that several times during our first presentation. I will not go into more details. Here, I'm saying about not only this advisory board of the mentors. Again, when you have people which are, let's say, experienced, much more experienced than you, much more successful than you, as an advisory board, those people usually they will know the finance. They will ask you the question, right? But my point here is not only that, but it's also try to have a financial mentor. Try to have a part-time CFO. You must have an accountant, right? And you must dig yourself into this. So it is complicated. Honestly, it is really complicated to be good with the finance. But it is mandatory. There is no way for you to build a business, to be a sustainable business in the future without knowing that, or without having around you the people that will know that. Okay? So here is a few questions for yourself. Am I afraid to ask advice? Yeah, it might seem a weird question, but I can guarantee you that there is a lot of people that don't feel comfortable of asking advice. They think that if I ask advice, it might be seen as a weakness. No, there is no such thing. There's no such thing. If you ask advice, it means that you're smart enough to ask for advice. Is my ego protecting me or blinding me? Again, you cannot answer this question yourself. Only your friends, families, or mentors or advisors can answer this question for you. When was the last time I asked for advice? And do I have the people outside my company who challenge my decision? The best thing you can have for your business at your stage right now and at future stage is people challenging you. And believe me, being challenged is not a nice thing, right? It's not something you like, because being challenged make yourself question about many things. But till the moment you don't have somebody challenging you, then you might have a huge blind spot about your business, and that is really something you don't want to have. So let's have the final recap of our session today. We have seen scaling values and founders' virtues. Not saying that you should be experts with all of them, but you must have all of them in your mind. Don't lose sight of your clients, especially the first one. Keep the relation personal. Stay out of the operation trap. As soon as the business is growing, hire the right person, trust them for them to bring something to the table, and let them do the job. Again, if yes, of course, if something is wrong, you will fire them, but trust people that you hire, right? Otherwise you will create this very toxic and unpleasant corporate culture. Keep agility alive. Again, as you grow, you have more processes. Make sure that processes will not kill the agility of your company. Hire slowly, fire fast, protect your cash flow, measure what really matters. I will also add something here in terms of culture, because I got rid of the culture slide in order to have 6 against 6. Um, Celebrate success is an important one, right? You have a small team around you. Your success is your team's success, and your team's success is your success, which means that every time something good is happening to the company, you have hired a first client, you have validated an investor, you have done anything. Take the time to celebrate. This is something I'm doing with my team. And again, no matter what is the condition of the company, even in the bad years, we will have smaller celebration together, because people need that. Those celebration, that is you creating the culture of your company. One tradition that we have in our company in the factory is every year we will have a boat trip on the river in Moscow. And every year the boat is bigger and bigger and bigger. And we have the DJ, we have a barman, we have a lot of things. And that's it. And people in the team, they know that we have this day, this party during the summer. They're waiting for it and they're dressing up for it. So that's part now is really part of our corporate culture. So this is you through celebrating your successes, that step by step will be creating the culture throughout the company. And again, a positive culture. And the founder's virtue that I really recommend you to have, again, if not today, just build for the future, is create a personal brand, make this personal brand exist, grow, being visible, speak to the conferences, write articles in your industry. You must do that. Yes, I know it's painful. I know it takes time. I know it's not easy and you have a million things to do, but it is important. Transform from doer to a leader, or if you are not a leader, again, it's fine. You might not be someone ultra charismatic. It doesn't really matter, but you must show the direction. You must speak with your team. You must share the vision. You are the one to set the vision. Okay. Again, tomorrow you will have a team. You will have a team leader, but you must be the one that set the trend, that show where we're doing, take them somewhere that is good for the company and good for the future. Plan ahead, balance work and life. We discussed that last time. I'm repeating it because it's important. Become financially literate. Again, there's 2 books that I will recommend you to buy. Easy read, not easy read, no, well, okay, I will not lie, it's not an easy read, but readable, readable, right? Take the book, discuss with a financial advisor, ask question. If you understand half of the book, it's already something good. And for everything, seek guidance. Being a good leader means being alone. Being alone because you will have to make the decision. You will have to face problem. And when shit will hit the fan, sorry to say that, you will be the first one to react. You have to be strong at those moments. When crises happen, you are the person that people will look at and say, okay, what do we do now? And you have to find something. Again, you know that crises will happen, things will happen, and you have to be ready for it. So let me conclude this second session with few, let's say, ideas. First of all, your role is not to do more, but to build a system that makes more possible. Think about this sentence, right? You build a system. You don't do everything, but you do create the infrastructure that will do the job. Your real danger is not growing too slowly, but growing blindly without cash, without culture, and without clarity. Again, growing slowly has never been a problem. Never, ever been a problem. Growing too fast has been a problem. And there's many cases of company that blew in the process. So grow smartly. Again, grow smartly. Success, and I will add to that, unfortunately, growth is never a straight line. You can have amazing years when you will do plus 200%, plus 300% business, and you will have very average year when you will do plus 5%, plus 10%, and then you can have bad years when you will lose actually some part of your business, part of your clients, and at the end of the day, you will have a decreased business. But you have to consider the long run. The business has to grow on the long run. If you have one bad year, doesn't matter. Maybe the next year will be better. Okay, so growth is a long-term plan. It's a marathon. It's not a race. And finally, success is not just winning clients. It's creating a company that can thrive without you. And here again, your job as an entrepreneur, as a founder, is to create businesses. When the business is good enough, is big enough to work without you, at some point you have to step down. You don't have to step down to go and live on the beach and have cocktail the whole day, because this business will be up and running. And then you can focus on the next one, and then on the next one. That's what I've been doing. And I was telling you that some of my business are growing and thriving. Some failed, some I sold, right? Out of all of this, I'm in a plus, right? And out of this, I'm still thinking about next venture. I've done it, create, it works up. I put a CEO, I put a manager, and I'm doing something else. That is being an entrepreneur. Okay. On this, I'm finished this case, this session. Thank you very much for all of you that attended today. If you have any questions, I can take a question for the next 10 minutes. If you have questions and you don't want to make them, let's say, in front of everybody, of course, you can ask for my contact with the organizer. They will share with you my email address. You can contact me through LinkedIn, and I will always find a way to spend the time with you to answer your question.
I have a question.
Yes, please.
So many of the startups in the start, like anyone like us, they have a problem with cash flow. And eventually, right now, sales is being done by AI by big organizations, which is quite easy and quite realistically effective. Even they have employee base as well. Startups like us, we suffer from that aspect. We don't have the right employees, first of all, in that aspect. And on the second hand, we don't have the resources to purchase of those kind of like SaaS-based softwares and AI-based things. In this quick world where everything is going AI, that is expensive. How can we start something that can financially land us some clients as well? And also help us build that, as you mentioned, that, do not focus on one client or two clients, because, many of the startups in the start are facing this problem currently, because we are in the shift from organic and, the analog system to an AI-based system.
Okay, I don't know if there is a very short answer to this question, because it's a very foundational, let's say, question you asked. I think there is a few things that I've said during the previous session. Have you been there to the previous session?
No, I was not in the previous session.
Okay, because the
I missed
previous
a lot. I
session
was a ill
was
based.
okay, no problem. If you can ask the organizer, I will share the slides of the previous session, because I think most of the questions you asked were tackled during the first session, which were considering very early stage startups. Unfortunately, I've been there. I know exactly what you're saying. The thing is, you have very, very limited resources. And the big question you have is, where do I put these limited resources? And there is no easy question. There's no easy answer to this, right? You are in a dynamic world. My very, let's say, small recommendation to this is speak with as much people as possible in this process, because the more people you will speak, the more vision you will understand where what you should do and how you should invest, let's say, those resources. It's very difficult to have the first client, very, very difficult, because nobody trusts you, nobody knows you. And when you have it, you have to deliver, which is not that easy. If you have a big client that try to squeeze you. So it's a process. It's a process. It's a gamble. It's a game. But that's why we're here between us entrepreneurs, right? If you didn't want that gamble, you will be working in a company, right? And you have a salary and everything will be fine. You are ready to take that gamble, and something you will do will be right. Something you will do will be wrong. What matters is, what is the total outcome at the end of the day? That's it. So try to have as much, let's say, experienced people around you, ask them questions. And if you're lucky enough, you might take the right decision, and grow your business to the next stage.
Okay. One last question.
Yeah.
If I'm pitching to an investor, and mostly of us are idea-based startups here, right now it's the world of, there's AI is coming in, tech is coming in. We are also going towards the agri side. But like, if I'm pitching up to an investor on an idea-based startup, what should be my priority? What does an investor look at when it's an idea and it's only me? I think first priority is me, but like, what's the that's also a very long question, but if I ask you really simple, what's the idea when you are pitching to an investor as a startup, as an idea-based startup? What should be the idea of that?
Okay, I will really invite you to read my previous session, which was really dedicated to this point. And I see that somebody else here in the chat asked a very similar question. I will tell you something, because I'm pitching right now today. I had earlier today a pitch session with an investor. I will tell you something. Investors know who are investors. Investors are usually people that have enough money to spare, let's say, on a risky business as yours and mine, right? Again, so they're being clever enough in their life to have $100, $200, $500,000, let's say, available money that they're ready to lose, gambling again on a startup idea, right? So if they got to that point in their life, is because they are very good with finance. So one of the first, let's say, thing an investor will look at is, you as an early stage investor, early stage entrepreneur, do you understand finance? If I put this 50,000 euros on your project, I can put 50,000 euros in anything else, right? I could buy a car for 50,000 euros, and I will have the car or watch or whatever, right? Is that person, they will ask themselves, I think, 3 questions. Is this guy good enough to launch? Is this idea a good idea? Okay, they have to buy the idea. You will never pitch an investor to invest anything if they don't like the idea in the very beginning. So pitching the idea is number 1. Second is showing that you are the right guy to launch this idea. Because this guy will not be able to launch this idea, they will not give you the money. And the one way you have in order to reassure this, you don't have launch 1, 2, 3, 5 companies, and that's easy to say, look at what I've done, I can do it again. I can say it now, but you cannot say that because you're too early stage, right? You have to show in what is a discounted cash flow, that what is net profit, how you calculate the break even. You have to be good with that. And the better you are with that, the better the investor will trust that you know the finance good enough, let's say, to be successful with what you're doing. So that's what I think would be the best way.
These 3 points are really precious. Thank you very much for the answer.
Okay, thank you very much. Does anyone else has another last question? Maybe I'm just checking in the chat if there is a question. I don't see more question in the chat. Yes, Afghan.
I just would like to ask if there's possibility to jot down here the name of the books, please.
You know what? I will be. I have to check because unfortunately today I'm not at my office, and they're at my office. So I will send that to Aidan, and she will share it with you. Okay.
Of course.
If there's no more question, thank you very much for participating in these modules. I will share the slides. And again, if you have any more questions, do not hesitate to write me either by email or write me through LinkedIn. I may not answer you immediately, but I will answer you eventually at some point. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, and I wish you all to have a very nice evening.
Thank you. Have a nice weekend.
Bye bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you so much.
Bye-bye.
Bye.